Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the live reaction show. Today, you're with Steve Wyss, and I'm with Italian football expert Daniele Fisichella. How are you doing, Daniele?
Hi, Steve. I'm all right, thank you.
Well, we're back from the international break, and there's been plenty of action going on. As we just go live, there's been a goal in the Premier League game straight off the bat here, 1-0 to Aston Villa against West Ham. I was about to go through all the goal lines and things, but not really much point in doing that now because the lines are going to change. But Villa do lead 1-0 as long as VAR doesn't get involved. There's a Serie A match kicking off just about now, I do believe, Daniele. You're going to have half an eye on that. What are your thoughts about it?
Yes, it's Atalanta against Genoa kickoff just now. Atalanta on the back of a disappointing defeat at Lazio. They lost 3-2, but with a very good home record. Still haven't conceded a single goal in 5 home games. And they host Genoa, who've got a little bit of a habit of upsetting top sides. They won against Roma, drew against Napoli, and they were only denied by Giroud, the great Milan goalkeeper, of course, before the international break when they lost to Milan 1-0. So just kicking off now, Atalanta with a great chance to go into the top 4 if they win.
Strong favourite in this game at Atalanta, minus 188 on the money line at the start of the game there. There's quite a few other matches going on in Europe right now. I've had my eye on Girona. Now, they are a team, to anyone watching here, you want to get your eye on Girona in La Liga. They are just wild. 4-2 last time I checked against Almeria. They're leading. There's also goals in the Bundesliga at the moment. Heidenheim against Augsburg, as I think we might have just lost Daniele there briefly. Hopefully he'll come back very soon. But Heidenheim 2, Augsburg 1 in the Bundesliga. That is a match that I actually did like. Over 2.75 goals in, and it's cashed already, or at least half cashed. So I'm really happy with that one. Monaco against Metz, as Daniele now should be back. I think we've got you back again now, Daniele. Yes, I was just saying about
Inter's
all
playing
good
up
now.
a bit.
Yeah, it can sometimes happen. I was just saying there's quite a lot of goals across Europe right now. Monaco Metz is at halftime. There was a goal from the halfway line in that game. Unbelievable goal from Metz's Kamara. And it figures I was actually on both teams to score no in that game, and someone scores from the halfway line. I would give a suggestion at halftime. I know everyone likes the in-runnings here. Monaco -1 on the Asian handicap at -120. I think is a pretty good in-running shout for Monaco there. And looking at the Premier League, Aston Villa against West Ham United. Villa -334 in running now after leading 1-0. But goal line there now in this game is 2.75 to 3. It's a bit early to get involved. I never like to get involved too much after a goal. So, Daniele, Serie A. We're going to talk about Serie A because he's here. And, well, first of all, this Italian betting scandal, Daniele. This has been big news across the UK and in Italy. Tell us a bit more about it.
Well, as things stand, we know that one player, Nicolo Fagioli, has received a 7-month ban plus 5 months of suspended sentence, and is being considered to be the first one to get caught, and probably the player who has placed more illegal bets in the last few months. And then, after the investigation on Fagioli and the fact that the magistrate were able to seize his iPad, his phone, and get hold of the chats with other players, other 2 players have been involved in the investigation. Sandro Tronali of Newcastle, former of Milan, and Nicolo Zaniolo, who, by the way, is playing this afternoon for Aston Villa. Now, Tonali, similar to Fagioli, has admitted his guilt. He went to speak to the magistrates, and he has admitted he suffered from gambling addictions. Now, he's going to negotiate a ban, a reduced ban. The Italian Sporting Justice System has got a fine of up to, or a ban up to 4 years or 3 years if a player hasn't bet on his own team. But apparently Tonali has bet on AC Milan when he used to play for them. But he's going to negotiate a reduced ban, and probably this is going to be communicated.
Not sure if we've lost him again there. Connection seems a bit strange today. Yeah, this Italian betting scandal has been obviously a big thing. 3 players, Nicola Faglioni, Sandro Tonali, Nicola Zaniolo, under a lot of scrutiny from this. I'm just going to wait. Hopefully, Daniele will be back very soon. Got issues. There's Girona, I think, just scored again in La Liga. Just Girona side, I tell you guys, this team is well worth watching. I took them, I advised them on the show this week, minus 1.25 Asian handicap. They are going to be rammed. So I think Ajax are going to be relegated. Andrew, I'm just looking at the comments and welcome in now. We're going to talk a lot about Ajax in the Europa League show this week with Will White and RJ. There's all sorts of issues. I wouldn't be surprised if they sack their manager very soon. They're conceding goals left, right, and centre. They're not going to go down, you wouldn't think, but yeah, it's a difficult one. Right, let's see. Daniele, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
All right, brilliant. Yeah, that's. There's definitely some issues. If you do have issues, I don't know whether you can join with your phone or not, Daniele, but you are a bit. The connection is getting a bit dicey there. In terms of that, but just getting Girona minus 1.25 Asian handicap. That looks like it's going to cash for me now. That I advised on the show this week. 5 goals to 2 up on there. Still 1-0 to Aston Villa, and I said we're just waiting for this connection to get a bit more stable for Daniele. Hopefully he can rejoin us. What's going on with it there? Daniele, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you. Perfect.
All right, you can hear me. Brilliant. Okay. Right. So what I'm wondering about this, why was this betting illegal? The Italian betting, is it because
for two reasons mainly. First of all, because Italian Sporting Justice Code said football players can bet on football. So it isn't legal for a player that is on contract, the professional team in Italy, to bet whatever on football. They can bet on other sports, not football. Also, they use the legal platforms, so platforms that are run by criminal organizations, to probably launder monies or get money clean of some illegal traffic, of course, and allow some of the people who cannot bet on league platforms, like for example the football players, to bet. So this is tricky in many ways, because A, they cannot bet on football, but B, they also bet on illegal platforms. Now, if in Italy you bet on illegal platforms,
Daniele there has just had a few issues with the connection again. Hopefully we'll get him back on the phone, hoping in a minute, but it's definitely Daniele. Anyway, yes, back to I'm going to have to talk about some live plays. There's some comments as well. Villa fan 20. How is Antonio Iriolo still in a job? Yeah, that's a very good question indeed. Nigel Seeley actually backed him, advised him on the show 2 or 3 weeks ago to be the next out of 14 to 1. He's now in at plus 200. It was one of the topics of conversation that me and Daniele were actually going to discuss on the show. Hopefully we can get him sorted. Coming onto his phone soon. He's just got some internet issues at home. Just messaged him now. Just sorting something out. Guys, apologies for this. These connection issues. We seem to have a few of these issues on the live show, don't we, this year? On Sundays. I don't know where it's about this particular time slot where it's really weird stuff anyway. But Villa fan, he would personally be my bet. Next man out for a job. I mean, Heckingbottom is the favourite at minus 200 in that market. But I mean, they keep losing games and they keep sticking with him, don't they? So I don't really see why he would suddenly go imminently now. So Iraola is under pressure. Bournemouth has spent a lot of money, and he definitely looks to value for me at plus 200 in terms of that. But right, I might be able to get Danny back on there. Daniele, can you hear me?
Yes, again. Let's try again now with the phone.
Right. Oh, right. Let's go back to this betting scandal then. You were on about why it's illegal over there, and tell us a bit more. I mean, do we know how much is actually staked? Do we know how much they've actually put money on here? Has much been revealed? Why are there restrictions over there in Italy?
Well, a football player, the restriction is that you cannot play any bet whatsoever. Even if you bet €1, you're already breaking the law, the code of conduct of professional football players. We know that Fagioli has placed bet for over €1 million over the last 18 months, and he admitted that he was in tears. He admitted to have a very big problem. He said he asked for money for loans to his own teammates, and yes, he was totally distraught, and he's been diagnosed by a psychiatrist with a gambling addiction. He's a 22 years old midfielder from Juventus, very promising, who now has got to go through rehabilitation as well. Sandro Tonali, we don't know the extent of his betting, but it's been revealed that he has placed bets on both Milan and Brescia, his former teams, and he always plays bets for those teams to win. Again, he's been diagnosed with gambling addiction. The psychiatrist that has been following him said that it was kind of a way for him to bring good luck to him. He was very superstitious, very meticulous, and those bets were only meant to bring good luck to him and to his team. But of course, the sporting justice in Italy says you cannot bet on your own team, otherwise you face 4 years ban. But there are mitigating circumstances because obviously the players are collaborating. Tonali and Fagioli have collaborated, so that reduces the ban sensibly. But in terms of Tonali, I think we can expect at least 10, perhaps even more, 12 months of ban starting from this week.
I mean, this is really dodgy territory. Is there, you know, Italy's like, is there sort of any chance of accusations that these guys have been attempting to throw a game, as in fixing a game, or is it just simply betting?
No.
I mean, there's a lot of money involved, over $1 million that's been staked by one of these players. And how serious is this being treated in Italy? I mean, it's been big news over here in the UK. Is it even bigger in Italy? Do you know?
It's been a very, very big news, massive news in Italy. And going back to your initial question about match fixing, in the past, there have been other scandals in Italy linked to betting. But back then, back in the 80s, but also in 2011, match fixing was always part of it. So in other words, there were criminal organizations that were working or trying to work alongside players to fix matches and then bet on those matches that were fixed, and the players were getting some money out of the criminal organization or maybe out of bets they were going to place themselves. This time around, there is no match fixing involved. This time around is purely the pleasure of some players of betting, playing large sums, betting monies. Yes, in the case of Tonali and Fagioli, it's been described as a gambling addiction, but most of all, in most cases, it's been represented as a problem for these young players, problem of boredom, don't know what to do, don't have many important people in their lives. So it's been completely different. There is no match fixing involved, which in a way it's better, it's good news. Otherwise, obviously, that would have really cast a shadow over the previous leagues and previous matches. And of course, the sporting element of it and the results would have been questioned. But yes, there is a problem of players betting, and probably it's not just the three of them that have been doing. Although Zaniolo denies any allegation, he said he only played poker and blackjack. But it's probably a problem that is widespread, and the Italian authorities haven't done enough in the past to fix it.
Yeah, and these guys are obviously facing big bans. It feels like there's always some drama with Italian football, Daniele, and this is just the latest of them now. Just tell you, watching this game, Monaco against Metz. Metz had a massive chance to take the lead in this game. They're huge price on the money line in running Metz. I think they're plus, they're plus a half on the handicap at plus 150. So I'm not sure actually sure what they are on the money line. Plus 850 on the money line. It would have been a shock lead for them. While you're here, Daniele, let's talk about this Serie A title race, because it's got quite close. Inter Milan are the favourites, plus 125 favourites there to win Serie A. We've got Milan at plus 200. There's 5 teams within 5 points. There was a couple of good wins yesterday for Inter and Napoli. I mean, it's an exciting season. Last year, Napoli were runaway leaders. It's a lot closer this time. What are your thoughts on the general title race at the moment? Are Inter deserving favourites?
No, I think it's too early to say they are favorites. I think perhaps they got the better squad if you look at the 24, 25 players in the squad, but it's a bit too early to consider them so favorites in the title race. I think in Italy, this season is going to be more exciting, more interesting. There are at least 4 teams, let's say maybe 3 plus Juventus. Let's see what they do tonight. 3 teams that can win the league, Inter, Milan, and Napoli. None of them is perfect. They all have some issues, some problems. They are all of them. They are heavily reliant on a top striker, Lautaro, Leao, Osimhen. So it's a very long season. I mean, it's be early to say Inter are so favorites. Of course, they had a good start of the season, but they come back on the back of a couple disappointing results at home. Yesterday was a hard-fought win. I think 3-0 flat them a little bit too much. The first half was difficult. Then Torino had a few chances. Sommer had to make a couple of good saves. Then Torino's best defender, Per Schurz, come out injured. He's going to be out for at least 3-4 months. Very serious injury to one of the best Italian defender in Italy. And Inter scored a couple of goals thanks also to the changes that Inzaghi made. Introduced Dumfries, introduced Carlos Augusto. Thuram scored, Lautaro scored. That's the 25th goal of the year for Lautaro. Thuram on the score sheet as well. At the moment, 14 goals and 6 assists between them. They are second only to Girassi and Silas of Stuttgart. So a very good partnership. But yeah, I think you have to take everything with a pinch of salt at the moment. Obviously, games coming thick and fast. And tonight, there is such an important game. Milan-Juventus. Milan with a win, they go again back top of the league.
Bet Rivers go AC Milan plus 105 tonight. Juventus plus 285. The tie at plus 230. Over 2.5 goals is plus money as well. That's at plus 120. If you had a free $10 bet this evening, Daniele, where would your money be going?
I would go for an Asian handicap 0 for Milan or an under 2.5 goals. I see at the moment Milan in a better.
AC Milan 0. Asian handicap for Daniele on the lean. Looks like there's more connection issues here.
Yeah.
You back?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry.
We just lost you briefly there.
I was saying Milan Asian handicap 0, but bearing in mind this is a game with a lot of absentees in both camps. Chiesa and Vlahovic should be on the bench for Juve. Danilo is out, so it's a makeshift back 3 with Rugani and Bremer and, of course, Gatti. So, I mean, the mismatch, especially on the flanks where Leao plays, is going to be interesting. There is no Fagioli, as we mentioned, no Paul Pogba. But Milan, without Mike Magnan, without Sportiello, so is Mirante, their third goalkeeper that is going to start. He last started a game in May 2021. No Teo Hernandez suspended. But a point of interest for our friends overseas, 4 Americans starting. Musa, Pulisic, Weah, and McKennie playing more in a central position for Juventus. So there are 4 US nationals.
Weston McKennie starts regularly for Juventus.
McKennie normally this season has been playing as a right wing back, which is a very unusual position for him to play. He's a center midfielder, but Allegri likes to play in there. And sometimes, obviously, that detracts from Juventus being able to go forward. He's not a natural winger. He's been doing okay, I must say, McKennie. I know you've seen him a little last season and he wasn't convincing. But tonight he's going to play probably more in his natural role, center midfield, with Weah on the right-hand side.
Goal for Monaco. Monaco scored against Metz. It's a Golovin free kick. And the strong favourite in this game have got their noses ahead. They've not played particularly well, but they do lead now at the Stade Louis II down on the south coast of France. In terms of the match, this Serie A title race here, and also the general Italian teams overall, because it's not been the worst of starts in the Champions League for the Italian teams, has it, Daniele? I mean, which of the teams right now do you think's got the best chance of going deep in that competition?
Well, obviously, Inter got the easy group with Salzburg, Benfica, and Real Sociedad, and already won a game. So now they win against Salzburg on Tuesday. They are out. They're basically there, and I think you have to see stage by stage. If they manage to qualify for the round of 16 and maybe being seeded, they'll have a good chance. But of course, repeating last year, heroic is going to be difficult. Napoli, again, I think is more than achievable. The qualification, they play Union Berlin away this midweek. And by the way, there is a very good price for them to win against Union Berlin away, -103 on Bet Rivers. I think is a very good value there. We'll talk about Union Berlin maybe a little bit later. But Napoli, yesterday, good win against Verona, 2 goals from Kvaratskhelia. They are without Osimhen, injured, but I think the quality is still there. And then, of course, there is the group of death with Milan, who plays away at PSG on Wednesday. They need to start scoring goals in the Champions League. They need to start getting the 3 points because you don't go far with 0-0. And Lazio's group is very, very open after they managed to secure the weird win as well against Celtic. They go 4 points. They travel to Feyenoord. It's gonna be tough against a very high scoring side.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that Union Berlin game. I think it's Union Berlin are one of the big points of discussion overall in Europe these days because they're performing so poorly. And I know a lot of people might well be on that even money on Napoli to win against them in midweek. Going to switch over to Premier League now, and it's half time in the Villa Park. Aston Villa 1, West Ham 0. Villa -300 in running to win, which is fair. They've been the better side. I know Jack Wright is on this lot today. Back to Villa in the on the EPL show. Over under line at halftime is 2.5, which I'd probably lean over if I had to there right now, -110. There's an interesting question just come through here from a guy called Lonely Gambler, and it is quite a lonely profession at times, I must say. What stats do you focus on when assessing over/under bets? Is it just average goals scored? What do you look at stats a lot for these sorts of bets, Daniele, or do you go by feel and like team news and things like that?
You have to look at stats, but obviously you need to look at stats after a certain number of match days have been played. There is no point in looking at stats after match day 3 or match day 4 because you don't have a lot of data unless you go back to previous seasons. But then you need to consider which players has which side. I do look at stats, let's say, after 6, 7, 8 matches. You got a good day, base date. Obviously, you need to look at away and home. Sometimes away form and home form are completely different. But yeah, percentage of games with over 2.5 goals or where above to score happen can obviously help you to understand the kind of pattern teams have.
Well, Lonely Gambler, the stats that I will look at is actually, I'm quite into XG and XGA these days rather than actual goals, because these sort of metrics can often show you which teams are not defending very well, which teams are creating chances. And as long as, I mean, it's all well having a high XG, but you've got to have a decent finisher to do it. As long as you identify the teams that just consistently miss chances, then I think you generally are all right. So there's lots of different ways these days that you can approach over under betting, really. Loads of different ways. But if anyone else has got any questions, then feel free to ask away. We're going to switch to the EPL now. And before the international break, I stupidly tweeted out I didn't think Manchester City are going to win the title. We talk about reactions and overreactions. I got a bit carried away. I got a few bites on Twitter, or X as it's known now, Daniele. And look, Man City now back into -155 to win the league after yesterday's results. The interesting thing, Spurs are the interesting team to talk about, I think, in the Premier League right now. Plus 1,400 to win the Premier League, which does seem a bit outlandish, but it's a big price for a team that would go to the top of the Premier League table if they beat Fulham tomorrow night, and they are strong favourites to do that. They're plus 125 for the top 4 Is that value? Do you think, Daniele, in the Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur?
I think it's a value. They don't play in Europe, and it is a massive advantage. It could be a massive advantage come March, April, when other teams are a little bit more tired. And you look at the team that's currently playing in the Premier League, and you look at the state of Manchester United, you will favor Tottenham as it stands. Of course, there is Liverpool, the last season finished outside of the top four, who look like a strong challenger contenders. But yeah, beyond Manchester City, Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, then of course Spurs. I think they will be contenders, but don't forget Newcastle. Newcastle had a very tough start of the season in terms of calendar, and I know you like looking at XJ, expected goals. If you take that into account, they will be second in the Premier League at the moment for expected goals and expected goal difference. They got the best attack in the Premier League, and it seems like form they are regaining that things. Obviously, if they can keep that, because last season they were excellent in winter, came February, then they had a little bit of a slump. Spurs started well, very good recruitment, very good manager, great motivator, but a win tomorrow, and it's a different story completely. It's a different complexion. Pressure is going to be on. Nobody would expect them to win the title, but once you are there, it is different. But yeah, plus 125 for the top four, considering the state over of the others play teams, and probably I'm looking at Manchester United as the one that could not make it to the top four, and Newcastle. Some people might argue they pushed above the weight last season. Yeah, I think Spurs is a good shout.
Nico Leo asked a question. Welcome in, Nico. Stephen Daniele, what is the league or team that you hate betting on? I'll start one off here. A team I never ever get right is Atletico Madrid. I always bet their games. I'm actually looking far too closely at them to beat Celtic this midweek, and I really shouldn't get involved. But I always struggle with that. I don't know if there's a team that always does you dirty, Daniele.
For me in Italy, Sassuolo, because he's absolutely unpredictable. They have got a habit of taking points out of Milan, Juventus, Inter, and done it time and time again in so many seasons in Serie A. But then when it comes to like a home game against Monza, against Salernitana, against Lecce, they draw or they don't score. You would expect them to always score goals, so you always think that's going to be an over 2.5 goals, and then sometimes they do not score. So it's very, very difficult to beat on them. It's a team that normally comes January are always safe. They play pretty much for nothing, no pressure. Yeah, as I said, they can pull amazing results, but also be really, really disappointing sometimes.
The league, as for a league that's not been doing well for me this year, it's actually Norway, Obos League, second tier. Usually full of goals, but it's actually been a lot of unders recently. But in terms of a mainstream league, I don't like betting on. Well, these days I quite like betting anywhere. So let's leave it open. Nico Leo, Villa fan, has asked, why aren't people talking about us for the top four? I acknowledge it would be an incredible challenge, but since Unai took charge, I'm sure we're second in the fictional table. Do you know what? We did actually have someone. I think the last two guys on the reaction show, it might be Nigel. Maybe Jack actually did say you could consider them. I mean, they are plus 700 for the top four. I must say, pre-season, I thought they would be top half, certainly, but I thought they maybe struggle with the European mix. But they have done a bit better than I thought, Aston Villa. Winning today. What do you make of them?
They're negotiating it well. I mean, it would be an amazing story from 7th to 4th in the top in the top four. That would be great. Well, it depends, of course, how fit can Ollie Watkins continue to be. They rely a lot, obviously, on his goals. But yeah, overall, a very, very good side managed by a very experienced manager, Unai Emery, which is taking a bit of a revenge, I think, on some of his critics after his first spell at Arsenal.
So this Monaco game now in running. Monaco are all over Met. Suddenly the goal line looks appealing in running over. The line is 4.25 though, so you need a couple more goals. With Monaco knocking on the door for that third goal down the south coast, wouldn't want to put off anyone backing them to win this. Maybe 3-4-1 actually, looking really strong there. On to Premier League and the sack race. Probably my favourite part of the show. I love talking about this sack race. Every week it's changed. Andoni Iraola, we've had about Nigel tipped him at 14-1 a few weeks ago. He's now plus 200 to be the next man out of a job. Heckingbottom is the favourite, minus 175. Is Andoni Iraola a dead man walking, do you think, Daniele? It's not looking good down there at Bournemouth.
No, things don't look well down there. Yesterday they played 40 minutes with 10 men. In the end, they succumbed. First time in their Football League history they failed to win any of their opening 9 league games. So definitely doesn't look good. And also, they got a habit of dropping points. So far, they've got 11 points from winning position in the Premier League. Nobody has done worse than them alongside Brentford. It takes a while, I think, to adapt. I think they got for Andoni Iraola, but I think as a squad, if you look between them, Luton, Sheffield United, Burnley, perhaps up front, they got something more. And I think who's got goal scorers, and the like of Solanke, of course, comes to mind, normally could survive. But, next weeks are interesting for them. They go Burnley next week, Bournemouth, Burnley. Then there's Liverpool in the League Cup, which is more of a nuisance for them than a good game. And then Man City and Newcastle before the international break. So this is really 3 tricky games, plus the League Cup, which is a bonus. That's going to decide the future of the former Rayo Vallecano manager.
I think, and I said this on the last reaction show, I think they'll sack him at the next international break if results are still bad. But I don't think they'll do it this week or next. Although the Burnley game is a big one. I mean, Vincent Kompany, is he? I mean, he's 12-1 to be next manager to leave his post. And, he's the sort of manager. Could he walk? Because it's just not working there right now. If he's not careful, his reputation might get a little bit tarnished. They were horrendous against Brentford yesterday. But then against Bournemouth, when you're getting outplayed at home to Wolves, I think you got major trouble. So next manager out, if you had to give a prediction, would you go Areola?
Possibly Areola, although I think Kompany, I mean, they also have tough matches, tough calendar. So I think with Kompany, it's going to be difficult because last season he was so much at the forefront of the rebuild. He changed the style of Burnley. It's not the old Burnley that we all know, physical, throw the ball long, a bit of an old school, a bit of modern era Stoke City under Tony Pulis. It was really entertaining in the championship, and he recruited a lot of foreign young players. So obviously there is a project down there, but it is difficult to I mean, if the results don't go your way, yes, the owner might decide to pull the plug. By the way, Bournemouth away for them, then they go Everton in the League Cup, that's Burnley, Crystal Palace and Arsenal before the break, so not easy fixtures as well, whereas the other ones is Sheffield United, perhaps the easiest calendar of all, because they go 1 less games. They play Arsenal, Wolves, Brighton. Maybe they could pick up 3 points against Wolves, considering, of course, they're not playing on the League Cup games. But a lot of injuries there for Sheffield United, so very, very unlucky at the moment.
Mahesh Mishra asks a question. Thanks very much for your question here, Mahesh. Most of your picks that we have tend to be single plays rather than parlays. Not sure about that. Daniele doesn't come up with some good parlays, don't you? Or same game parlays anyway. Is single plays better suited for football betting over parlays? It's a good question, Mahesh. I mean, personally, I've always more been a single man, but everyone has different styles of betting. And it's a question is, where do you find your edge? If you're finding an edge in parlays, then fair enough to you. I don't know about you, Daniele. You kind of mix things up a bit, to be fair to you.
But obviously, Mahesh, if you do put a parlay, 3 legs parlay, 4 legs parlay, you are relying on 8 teams out of a sudden. You're not just betting on 2 teams, 1 loser, 1 winner, but 8 teams. Obviously, it adds to the complexion. Of course, you can add double chances. You can add odds that are a lower value to bring the things up. But, it is unpredictable. If it was so easy, we'll all be winners. On the other hand, the same game parlays could be the way forward, especially on Bet Rivers. There are a lot of good odds for shots on target, shots overall, number of cards that you can always combine with a full-time result. So if you think, for example, there is a clear favorite in a game, but there is not enough value into that,
then you can look into same game parlays and create your mini bet builder with 2 or 3 legs within the same games. And yeah, of events that are likely, Alan to have over 2 shots on target, for example, maybe the next game they play against Young Boys away from home. If you think Manchester City are going to win comfortably, that one.
Talking of parlays, we've actually been doing one recently on the Instagram account. I've just put the link in there. Do give that a follow, everyone, because we win on Instagram. We've come up short again this week. Me and you are both 100% on the Instagram parlay, Daniele. We've done our part, but first week I think RJ let us down. The over today in France has let us down. Nantes against Montpellier, unfortunately. 1 goal short for that one. So, but yeah, we're hitting a lot of winners on this parlay. So it's well worth keeping you. It's exclusively on Instagram. So do give that a follow. I want to pick your brains about a manager now, Daniele, in France, actually. I don't know if you know much about him, but he's at OGC Nice, Francesco Farioli, 34-year-old manager. They are the only unbeaten side in Ligue 1 at the moment. They're plus 1,800 to win the league, which I wouldn't recommend going near because it just seems a far stretch. However, you can't deny this has been a great start for Nice. He was an assistant under De Zerbi, and I expected a lot of attacking, free-flowing, mental football, but every match, bar one, has gone under 2.5. Do you know much about Francesco Farioli at all?
He's been under the radar because he has chosen a bit of an unorthodox way of getting into the elite football. He's a former goalkeeper. He played as a goalkeeper, but he stopped playing when he was 19 years old. And then he took a degree in philosophy, studied at the university, and then became a goalkeeper coach at Sassuolo, where De Zerbi was coaching. How De Zerbi discovered him is quite interesting because Farioli wrote an article on the website Y Scout about De Zerbi's team in third division Foggia. De Zerbi read it, they contacted him, and they appreciated the precision and the details that he put in his scout report. So then he went to work for the Zerbi at Foggia, and then he went to work at Sassuolo. He stayed there for a couple of years, and then he moved to Qatar to be part of Inspire Academy to prepare young players ahead of the World Cup. Then he moved to Turkey to become first assistant coach of Alanyaspor. Then he became coach in the first division of Turkey. A couple of seasons, good season there with good results with Kagurmuk and Alanyaspor. And then this summer, Nice came knocking. He got a lot of skeptic reception at the beginning. People didn't know much about him, but so far he's done a massive job. Won a PSG 3-2, won against Monaco. Yesterday, they beat Marseille in the Italian derby against Gattuso's Marseille. Marseille were with 10 men after 78 minutes. Guissand scored after 2 minutes. Credit to Fagioli because he brought him in only 6 minutes before. And now, of course, they are not only unbeaten, but the best defense in Europe top leagues. Only 4 goals conceded. They play well, but doesn't mean that they play recklessly. The same Fagioli said, thanks to the Zerbi, because they often discuss tactics, secrets. So he's been coached by the Zerbi, if you like, but he's demonstrating to be a very, very good manager.
Yeah, the question that Nico Leo asked earlier about teams I avoid, I've generally been avoiding Nice this year because they're not my sort of team to bet on because they're such a big under team. But I actually finally took an under last night on them. Enough was enough, Daniele. The goal line was just too high, but they are remarkably a controlled team under this new manager. Plus 1,800 to win. To be honest with you, I was maybe a little bit disrespectful there. I think probably a fairer price would be about 14-1 right now. They do lack the quality compared to obviously PSG minus 500, and they should win Liga. But if someone did slip up, maybe Nice are in a spot to take advantage. They've not exactly got much else on their plate this season. Corello has asked a question. I'm thinking of staking Milan and Barcelona to win. How confident are you guys that they do? I presume the league title we're talking here, Corello. In terms of, I'll give an opinion on La Liga. I think it's a toss-up. For me, Real Madrid, Barcelona, it could go either way. Has the makings of going to maybe the last 2 or 3 rounds this season, and Atletico Madrid are actually perhaps in the mixer as well. Probably won't win it, but it's not necessarily 2 horse. So I think that's a toss-up. I think you've got to go with your gut there, Corello. AC Milan to win the title, Daniele. What are you saying, yay or nay?
No, we mentioned it before. Way too early to say. They got a great collective, but perhaps Corello is talking about tonight's game because Barcelona plays tonight. I don't remember who they actually play. Do they play Getafe away? I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Milan to win against Juve. I think Juve will be really risk adverse. So it would be for Milan to lose it, this one. I think there are chances, but it might be an under game. I would say go for an Asian handicap 0 with Milan, whereas Barcelona, check the opponents. I think they play away. If I'm not wrong, they're a good form, but they're without Lewandowski. So again, goal line. Do think about it first.
And it's 2-0 to Aston Villa. It's from the penalty spot. Villa fan 20 is going to be very happy. They are playing some very good football right now. Jack Wright's going to be very happy. West Ham have hardly laid a glove on them here. Monaco, I have no idea how they've not added a third goal to this game. I would have to recommend going on over 3.75 goals. Monaco gets Metz. It just seems a matter of time before this Metz defense concedes again. It's took Monaco about an hour, 65 minutes to finally get into gear. But they will probably close out the win. Those who need them on the handicaps here, I think Monaco will close it out and win this 3-1, maybe even more. Right, before we finish off, I don't want to neglect the Bundesliga. I know it's not a league you follow too much, Daniele, but Seru Girassi yet again was on the score sheet yesterday. 14 goals now. I actually said in the midweek show that I didn't think he would score from open play yesterday, but he completely proved me wrong. He's been a beast, but now he's injured. He's out for 3, potentially 4 weeks. So his backers are going to be very nervous that Harry Kane's going to be breathing down his neck, and that's why Kane is minus 200 for the Golden Boot. This might be a time for Kane backers to strike, Daniele. He'd probably win the race anyway. But I mean, this is where injuries. This highlights the danger of betting on players, not just in a match, but also an outright market. You are in the lap of the gods, aren't you, with injuries?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Girassi should be playing the AFCON, the African Cup of Nations.
Yes, he's at Guinea. As long as Guinea are in it, I think.
I think if Guinea, we'll have to double check, but pretty sure Guinea are in it. So that's a spell. Okay. There is the winter break in Germany, so he might not lose too many games, but 2-3 games. So something to take into account. It's been phenomenal so far. So has been phenomenal Stuttgart. 7 winning 8 games for them. Girassi, by the way, broken Lewandowski record for most goal to start a Bundesliga season. And, it's a nice fairy tale, which is a shame. He has to end now temporarily because of his injury. Because when he first played in Germany, got relegated with Cologne, then returned to France, scored for Rennes their first ever Champions League goal. Then last season, they saved Stuttgart with 2 goals in the playoff against Hamburg. But he's a very opportunistic player in the box, despite of physicality. He's a bit of a poacher as well, similar to Mario Gomez, if you remember him. But yeah, one to follow, of course. Now he's out, and yes, Stuttgart. Let's see, because who's the replacement strikers? I mean, this is gonna be difficult for them to deal without the top man.
Yeah, it is a great fairy tale story, and it's a shame actually he's injured. The goal he scored yesterday was really well worked. He doesn't just score goals, he actually kind of creates his own chances as well. So fair play to Seru Girassi. We probably won't see him until after the next international break now. But Stuttgart, I said it on the show this week, I think they are actually heading into overrated territory. They certainly will be overrated without Girassi for a little bit. The Bundesliga, the guy I would still go for in the Golden Boot race, by the way, for a nibble would be Victor Boniface at Leverkusen. For those interested, 14-1. He's only 2 goals behind Kane. That Leverkusen side do create a lot of chances, and I'm still not convinced that Harry Kane goes the whole season staying completely fit, although the winter break will help him over in the Bundesliga. He always gets some sort of injury historically, so although maybe the conditioning at Bayern is a bit better. The table is really close in Germany, 5 points separating the 5 teams. Maybe on the next reaction show I'll talk a bit more about that, but Bayern, you'd be hard-pressed to bet against them. Well, Daniele, thanks very much for joining us on the live reaction show. Anything before you go? This Serie A game, has there been any goals in this game? Just checking now. 0-0, approaching half time in that game. It's not a bit of a surprise.
No. So Atalanta, the fortress at home, resist, which is very, very unusual for them not to concede goals. Maybe in the second half, more chances, more will open up. But yes, obviously, Genoa, they were without the man Retegui. And for tonight, Milan-Juventus, really interesting game. I think it's gonna, as I said, it's gonna be Milan to lose. For Milan to lose this game, they're gonna control it more. But I'm expecting a tight game, so I would rather go for an under 2.5 goals.
Well, good luck, whatever you are taking for the rest of the day, everyone. This goal line now in the Villa West Ham game is accentuated to over 3.25 as West Ham try and get themselves back in the game. There's actually been a goal just right now, a deflected goal from Jared Bowen. So it goes to 2-1 now at Villa Park. So the overbackers have cashed. It's been a good weekend for overbackers, actually, in the Premier League. One match in France tonight is Lyon against Clermont. I wouldn't touch Lyon with Monopoly money for those who are interested. But if they can't win this one, what game can they watch? We will have to go now, but thanks very much for your company, Daniele. Thanks anyone who joined in the chat. There's loads of questions this week. Love that. I'll be back next week for another reaction show. I think it's Rui Barlow who's going to be here, so we'll get a bit of a La Liga twang on it. But take care, everyone, and goodbye.